My recent video on erythritol received a lot of criticism, and I think actually it's totally warranted. It's not a good video. So if you want to see me give a really horrible explanation about something, check that one out. But let's do a better job here. When it comes to health-related topics like this, I'm not necessarily looking at what are the risks. I'm looking at what are the risks versus what are the benefits. And with something like a sugar alternative, the benefits are pretty minimal. It's something we can use to make our food taste better. So if I'm made aware of any potential concerns or risks associated with one of those sugar alternatives, it's out and I move on. The study showing that erythritol increased risk for blood clots and heart attacks really gave us 3 pieces of evidence. One is that when you put erythritol in the bloodstream, it activates platelets, which means that it's easier to form clots. Number 2, it showed that when you consume erythritol, your blood levels of erythritol increase. And if you consume a lot of erythritol, those blood levels stay high enough to increase your clot risk for days. And 3, this study looked at thousands of different people and showed those that had highest blood levels of erythritol had twice the amount of clots and heart attacks than those that had the lowest levels of erythritol in their blood. The first criticism is that those folks already had cardiovascular risk factors. So would they have had clots and heart attacks at the same rate if they didn't have erythritol in their blood? And did these people have higher levels of erythritol because they were consuming erythritol or because their body was producing that erythritol in response to oxidative stress or something else? We don't know. And let's make it clear right here that if you consume erythritol, you're probably not going to drop dead. So this isn't something that you totally need to panic and freak out about. But now we go back to the risks versus the benefits. We don't have solid proof that consuming erythritol will increase your risk for clots or heart attacks, but we don't have proof that it won't either. So because of that, I don't like erythritol anymore. There are plenty of other sugar alcohols that don't have this potential concern tied to them, as well as monk fruit and stevia. These are all other things that do the same exact thing as erythritol without this potential concern. And if we have new research coming out that shows detrimental effects of any of those others, then they're going to be off my list too. And if at some point when they all have negative research associated with them, we'll have to pick the best one and go from there. This current research on erythritol showed a potential risk and a very reasonable mechanism for that risk. If this research was looking at broccoli, I'd probably throw it away almost immediately, because broccoli does so many good things for your body that one negative study is not really going to change my opinion on it. But erythritol doesn't do much of anything good for our body. Ideally, we don't use any sugar alternatives at all. So if there's any potential risk associated with any of them, they're off my list. I don't care about any of them. If we're trying to make our food a little bit sweeter, we have plenty of options. But when we consider the fact that cardiovascular disease is the #1 leading cause of death, then anything that could even maybe potentially increase that risk is just not worth it to me. Use monk fruit until we see a study that tells us that's terrible for us too.